At the same time, I shouldn't be standing here. I should be at home grieving my daughter. And trusting into institutions that are responsible to this investigation. But the academic quarter is coming to an end. Students are graduating or leaving campus. People's memories fade. The window to reach the community is closing. For weeks, I have been imploring the UCSB leadership, including the chancellor's staff and the chief of police, to engage publicly with the campus community. This is why I'm here now. If you recognize it once again, if you recognize the individual in the photos, if you saw anything that night that might be relevant, no matter how small, please come forward. Your information may be key to helping us understand what happened to Liz. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hey everybody, welcome to Santa Barbara Talks with Josh Molina. It's Monday, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. I'm back after a couple of weeks of not recording interviews. Just needed a little break from podcasting, but I got a lot of good interviews coming up, some of which are recorded at TVSB in Santa Barbara. So that's something to look forward to. I'm really excited about that. I want to talk to you today about a couple of stories in the news, and I want to start right off with this whole issue with Liz Hamel, the UCSB student who died February 20th. And as of today, as of Monday, May 5th, they have not figured out how she died, who is responsible, and what happened on that night. It was actually Valentine's Day. So I want to talk a little bit about that. I've reported extensively at Newshawk, so some of this is cribbed a little bit from my reporting. And I just kind of want to keep the issue out there because it's an important issue, and I know the family is obviously, as you'd expect, very distraught and needs support in any way they can get it, and just try to keep this out there in front of as many people as possible. You know, by all accounts, Liz Hamel she was the kind of girl everyone loved. She was the life of the party. Her friends said she had the gift of bringing out the best in people, and if you're in a bad mood, her friend said Liz could fix it, change it, just with the smile on her face. But as we know, her life was tragically cut short. And oddly, no one is talking. No one is really saying why. I guess they don't know, or they're keeping some information from the public. She died under very mysterious circumstances, February 20th. She reportedly, I reported that, this is what her father said, fell from a third-story breezeway at the San Rafael apartments at UCSB. A passerby had found her on the ground and called 911. So this was Valentine's Day, 2025, but Liz died 6 days later from a brain injury at Cottage. And, you know, we don't really know much more than that. We have a few details I'm going to mention. You know, authorities have released very little, so the family, Liz Hamel's father, her family has decided to hire a private investigator and an attorney to investigate the cause of Liz Hamel's death. You know, they're hoping somebody will come forward and offer any kind of details on how she died. So what happened to this 18-year-old freshman? She had the whole world in front of her. It was Valentine's Day, 2025, when she was out at Lao Wang Noodle Bar in Isla Vista with her friends. Liz grew up in Bellevue, Washington. She sang in the choir, played tennis on the high school team. She was a competitor, right? I talked to her dad, and her dad, you know, obviously, as you'd expect, just loved her, gushed over her, talked about how she would battle players bigger than her on the tennis court. She learned resilience and toughness very early in life because of that. Hamel, her father, Alain Hamel, you know, he told me for a story I published in Newshawk, a few stories, that, you know, when she was young, she battled extreme eczema, and she even wore oven mitts at night to keep from scratching her skin. She overcame that. I think that it gave her a mental strength that stayed with her through life, her father said. He remembers when she was young and when they would watch TV shows together, shows like Blue's Clues or more recently Tokyo Vice. And her father said that she would completely get lost in the show, and it made watching it with her a total joy. And She had her distinct traits. She was addicted to Starbucks coffee. I can definitely relate to that. And she possessed an intense fear of insects. I can definitely relate to that too. She could raise her eyebrow in a way that would make Dwayne The Rock Johnson feel jealous, her father said. Just little things when I interviewed him that that he remembered about her that were, unique. And he mentioned some of these things in the eulogy he gave for her, actually in Santa Barbara. Liz, she loved her Subaru. She called it the Subs, and she'd go on spontaneous trips to just get away, escape, and think. And this is a quote from her father about that. It was more than just a car to Liz. It was freedom, a place to blast her music, Justin Bieber. So a little bit of, what she probably liked in high school, maybe junior high. It was Liz's dream to go to UCSB. Her friend, actually, that I interviewed, said that initially she was denied admission, but she appealed it. She was planning to go to UC Irvine, but she appealed that denial and actually got in to UCSB. And it shows her determination. A lot of kids, they get that rejection letter and they go to a different school. She appealed it, and the appeal rate is very low, so she got in. She loved science, and although she had not declared a major yet, she planned to pursue bio and chemistry. And she made friends quickly at UCSB, joined a sorority, appeared to be kind of living that ideal college life that so many kids imagine they'll have when they move away for the first time. All of her friends, the ones I talked to several, they described her as a young woman who was full of life, energy, vitality, and was really a magnet for pulling the best out of people. Her roommate, Kate Berg, said they met at orientation. They were both only children. So they found a sister, so to speak, in one another. They listened to what they called old 2016 rap music. I call that new music for me. To them, obviously, it's old rap music. And, she talked a little bit about their fun they had. They went and saw Dom Dolla in Los Angeles in concert last year. And that was a pretty fun experience where it helped them bond. Here's a quote. She was always smiling, Berg said. I never saw her down or upset. She made me laugh, whether we were studying together or going to Starbucks together. It was always fun. Another friend, Bria McGann, described a young woman who was fun, full of energy and life, and like Kate, just somebody who could bring the best out of people. McGann met her on move-in weekend. They eventually became sorority sisters. She lived in the room next door and recalls Liz walking over, greeting her, and telling her that she was welcome anytime in her room. And apparently that was the case. They spent a lot of time together in that dorm room. Here's a quote. Her smile brightens every room she walks into, McGann said. So what happened that night? The night Liz died is shrouded in secrecy, and that's not hyperbole. That's the truth, okay? She left with a young man that none of her friends knew. A cell phone photo showed pictures of the side of his face, but nothing definitive. When Liz left that noodle bar that night, she apparently forgot her iPhone and ID at the restaurant. It caused a bit of confusion back home because her mother tracks her location. And so she had assumed or thought that Liz was at the restaurant, just kind of late into the evening. The friends, however, they found her phone, her ID, and they took it back to her dorm. And so when her mom looked in the morning, she saw that, what looked like she was back home at the dorm. She lived in San Miguel. Her body was found in San Rafael, and it's about a 6-minute walk from Lao Wang, the restaurant. So what was she doing there? Okay, this is the big mystery. No one's talking about this. No one knows or no one is saying. Her father suspects that, it's Valentine's Day. So she left the restaurant with someone she met and was going to just spend the rest of the evening with that person. But that's not the person apparently who called 911. Liz Hamel, her father says All we know is she left with a boy. It seems difficult to fall on your own. Following over a breezeway at her height is not something that seems to happen naturally. It seems strange. It doesn't track. Her father believes she fell about 30 feet. He said UCSB has not installed cameras outside of the dorm. I talked to Kiki Reyes, spokesperson for UCSB, and she told Newshawk, it was kind of a long statement. I'll read it to you. She said, all residence halls require a key card to access the inside of any building, residential suites, rooms, and amenity spaces. San Rafael consists of multiple structures, some of which have residential suites that are externally facing and were designed to be accessed by key directly from the outside. All of our residence halls are equipped with cameras in the elevators. Hamill, her dad, Alain Hamel, hired a private investigator, Michael Claytor, and an attorney, Tyrone Mayo. And they held a press conference last week and showed images of the man who left the restaurant with Hamill, the last person that her friends recall seeing with her. Claytor said he was overwhelmed with the response that he got from the press conference. They showed the pictures, they handed out flyers. They eventually were able to identify the man through the public response, and they turned over that information to the authorities and they interviewed him. The authorities interviewed this guy who's in the flyer. Reyes, that spokesperson, I should say, from UCSB, said, an individual who was identified in relation to the incident at our residence hall has been located and interviewed. The investigation is still ongoing, and we cannot discuss any additional details at this time. UCPD is keeping the family informed and is working closely with the Santa Barbara District Attorney's Office. What's next? We'll have to wait and see because these details are not coming out quickly. Think about this. She fell February 14th. She died on the 20th. And here we are in the first week of May. Her father just wants people to come forward with any kind of information that they see that they think might be relevant, whether it's big, small, any little detail. So they were last seen at Lao Wang about, was it 10:06 p.m., Valentine's Day? And then the person came across her and found her on the ground at the San Rafael dorm on the ground about 10:27. So it's about a 21-minute gap there. Hamill in this press conference, he said, the academic quarter is coming to an end. Students are graduating or leaving campus. People's memories fade. The window to reach the community is closing. He flew in from Bellevue for the press conference last Thursday. And, he had a very the whole thing is very touching, very moving. It's so sad. When you hear him talk, it's impossible to feel what he feels, but, you can feel some of that anguish that he's going through. In this press conference, he ended it with saying, I shouldn't be standing here. I should be at home grieving my daughter. So let's hope that the authorities stay on the case, the private investigator, the attorney, the whole team behind this. Let's hope that they stay on this and bring some kind of resolution. They have not identified anyone as a suspect. The person in the flyer is not a suspect. They're just somebody they wanted to talk to because that's the person that was last seen, that the friends last saw with Liz. So there are not a lot of details. There's been a little bit of progress because of this press conference. And I know they're working on it, but it's important that anyone with information come forward and share it and just let people know. And I've got the private investigators info here on screen, and contact them, and you can if you have any information, let them know. Okay. So that's a big deal. That's been the big story of the week. It's gotten a lot of attention, obviously locally, as well as nationally. This is something that's been online, national television as well. This is a big deal. And if you know any information, please let the authorities or private investigator Claytor know. Okay. Before I sign off here, I want to mention another story that I wrote, which is about the city of Santa Barbara and Caltrans working on this project to close the Los Patos exit off of Highway 101. It's a bit of a secret exit. It's a bit of a hidden exit. It has no name. It has an exit number, which is like 95. And this is where you get off and you go to the Andre Clark Bird Refuge and those restaurants there, and eventually leads to Cabrillo and that new roundabout. And so check out this story in Newshawk. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but this is a big deal because so many Santa Barbarans have memories of using this exit. But the bridge above it was built in 1901. And so Caltrans and the Santa Barbara County Association of Governments have been working on this massive, nearly a decade long, I don't even know how many tens of millions of dollars it is or going to be, or more than 100 million to widen Highway 101. And part of that parallel project from that effort is to replace this bridge and build a new railroad crossing. And so as part of that, they're just going to close this underpass. And if you're somebody who grew up here or you're local, like that little area very well. But what's interesting about this project is that City Planning Commissioner Brian Barnwell suggested that, hey, instead of just closing it off and putting up a nice little driveway for the service workers, why don't we think about maybe building some housing there? Obviously not on the on-ramp, but off-ramp, but close to it at where the cul-de-sac would be, because they're going to cut it off. And he's just sort of creative thinking out loud, but it does raise some good questions. The city owns this valuable land and they're going to landscape it and just kind of make it look nice for service workers, for maintenance workers, when at a time when we have this housing crisis and supposedly, theoretically, everybo's looking for a place to build housing. Everyone's looking for a place to build housing over there, not over here. And so, but here's this land the city owns, and why not build some housing? So he suggested something like that, maybe residential with some commercial on top. Didn't gain a lot of traction, at least publicly, but I think people are thinking about it at a staff level of what could be done. They also have to take down dozens of trees, maybe up to 100 trees, and they're figuring out where they're going to replace them. So Leslie Wiscombe, the planning commissioner, was talking about putting them around in cities or parts of the city where there's less shade. And, certainly, there are parts of the east side, west side, of course, that are lacking in enough trees, and they should plant them there. So part of the whole discussion there is about what to do with that exit. But check it out, newshawk.com. A lot of people are talking about that story and what it will mean to remove that bridge and what's going to go at that off-ramp space. So thanks a lot. Please hit subscribe on YouTube and visit santabarbaratalks.com. Consider a contribution to support these podcasts. I'm trying to get more into the studio, and so it'll help me do that. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Have a great day.